Welcome to the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. I'm your host, Molly Watts. If you want to change your drinking habits and create a peaceful relationship with alcohol, you're in the right place. This podcast explores the strategies I use to overcome a lifetime of family alcohol abuse, more than 30 years of anxiety and worry about my own drinking, and what felt like an unbreakable daily drinking habit. Becoming an alcohol minimalist means removing excess alcohol from your life so it doesn't remove you from life. It means being able to take alcohol or leave it without feeling deprived. It means to live peacefully, being able to enjoy a glass of wine without feeling guilty and without needing to finish the bottle. With science on our side, we'll shatter your past patterns and eliminate your excuses. Changing your relationship with alcohol is possible. I'm here to help you do it. Let's start now. Well, hello and welcome back to the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast with me, your host, Molly Watts, coming to you from, it's a balmy Oregon today. Well, it's going to be balmy. Quite honestly, it's still really early. It's still even a little bit dark out this morning and it's cold, but the forecast, 73 degrees. That's right. I bring you weather updates, and oftentimes you hear me talk about not enjoying rainy weather here in Oregon, despite the fact that it rains quite a bit in Oregon, right? I have to be honest. My husband and I were talking about it this weekend and realized that I think this may be the very first spring that I remember that it has been mostly dry. Mostly dry. It's kind of like me, mostly dry, mostly alcohol free. No, I mean, seriously, it has been so many days of sunny weather. And even on the days when it's been cloudy, not a ton of rain. I don't know how that bodes for us here in Oregon in terms of our ecosystem. Probably not great, but it's certainly been enjoyable for somebody who likes sunny weather or prefers it. So welcome to the show. Welcome back. Hey, this is the last in a series, this series that I've been doing on Alcohol Awareness Month. And we've been talking about really not focusing on all the troubles that alcohol can bring for us, but hopefully creating some awareness around the benefits of becoming an alcohol minimalist and reducing your alcohol intake. And now this last weekend, I did a free workshop, and I talked about the fact that the podcast in and of itself is really here to increase awareness. So while the month is Alcohol Awareness Month, and I've done kind of a series around that, honestly, the whole point of the podcast in terms of how I deliver content really is to bring you in and create awareness, right? Opening up your mindset and opening up some of the stories that you've probably had regarding alcohol for many, many years. I did a series back in January called All About the Alcohol Core Beliefs, and I will link that in the show notes in terms of the specific numbers of those episodes. But along with it, there is a resource, the Alcohol Core Beliefs Mind Map. And I've got a lot of free resources over on my website, so www.mollywatts.com. But if you go to www.mollywatts.com/mindmap, you can get a copy of the thing that accompanies and talks about all the alcohol core beliefs, the Alcohol Core Beliefs Mind Map. And again, I think it's a great tool, especially for creating awareness. I talked a couple of weeks ago about my ebook, Alcohol Truths. I almost said Breaking the Bottle Legacy. That's my paid book, not my free book. My ebook is Alcohol Truths, How Much is Safe. That is also available on the website. And all of this is really great information for those of you that are working on changing your relationship with alcohol. So I invite you to come visit me on the website, come check it out, and grab those free resources. All right, as we jump into this last episode today, I'm going to be talking about three traps, I guess I will call them, that kind of get us stuck
in not taking action. You hear me talk about the behavior map result cycle, and along that is at the far left is the circumstances of our lives. Then the middle, the actual result cycle is thoughts, feelings, and actions. And then on the far right is the results that you have in your life. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, well, I would highly encourage you to go grab that paid version of my book, Breaking the Bottle Legacy: How to Create a Peaceful Relationship with Alcohol. You can pick it up wherever you get books, any ebook retailer, of course on Amazon. Amazon's the only place you can get the paperback, but inside of it, I go in depth with the behavior map result cycle. But today, the action piece, all right? I was just talking about this to one of my clients about sometimes, we get too linear in our thinking about the behavior map result cycle. And it is a line, right? But it's a line that you can move back and forth on. And the beauty of it is being able to use it to uncover kind of where we are and where we're stuck. And for many of us, we get stuck not taking action. And I want to talk to you today about 3 areas that I see, or 3 traps that I believe exist, that keep us from taking action. And even when we might be aware of our own thoughts, even though we've kind of articulated the feeling, we can get stuck and get thrown off of taking better actions. Because while like listening to the podcast and learning is, yes, in and of itself an action, it doesn't move us forward. And we have to be willing to take action, continuously take action, take small steps forward, right? And there are things that get in the way. And today I'm going to talk about 3 of them. The first one I will call the trap of it's got to be a little bit more perfect for me. The time isn't quite right. I am waiting for that perfect moment to happen when everything else in my life is calm, when I really feel motivated, and then I will start taking action. This is for those of you that start over again on Monday. I'll start on Monday. I'll start next month. I'll start after vacation. I'll start in January. How many times have you told yourself, I will start cutting back on drinking when things are just a little bit less chaotic or are easier, when everything's more calm in my life? If you're waiting for that perfect moment, that perfect day, or that perfect season to kickstart change, that is a trap that many of us fall into. You can call it kicking the can down the road. When you kick the can down the road, that is not a very productive nor a very fulfilling way to live. And I understand it because I kicked the can down the road for many, many years. Here's what I have to tell you. The perfect moment, it rarely arrives. And we really have to be willing to challenge that thought as simply a way of keeping us stuck in our habits, in our old habits that do not serve us. We tend to look up and tend to wait around for a moment when we're really going to feel like, like motivated to do something. And I have news for you. Most of us never get there to feeling really motivated to do things, especially if we perceive them as not being all that fun, right? We have to stop believing that there's a time out in the future where we're going to feel differently, that we're going to feel more like doing this, that we're going to feel more motivated and inspired, and instead see it as a thought error that keeps us stuck. We don't have to wait until we feel like it. We can actually just start doing something now. And I really want to encourage you to think about that in terms of like, I'm just going to stop lying to myself that there's going to be a time in the future when things are going to be easier, when it's going to feel like this is the perfect moment. And I'm just going to start taking action today. Now, so that's number one, right? So one of the traps that keeps us stuck in not taking action is that we're waiting for the future. We're waiting for a perfect moment. We're waiting for next time instead of practicing imperfect actions today, right? We don't need to wait until tomorrow. We don't need to wait until Monday. We don't need to wait even if we have taken a step off plan. We have the moment. Every choice is a chance, right? And we have a choice to make in this moment. And instead of telling ourselves that we'll just start again tomorrow, we can keep on going today. What do I have inside of me that I can make a better choice right now, today? Flip side of that is that I also don't want you waiting until you hit rock bottom, until you are so disgusted with yourself that you feel like you have no other option but to make change happen right now. And then you are looking for these big actions. You're looking to make a change happen overnight instead of focusing on small steps that you can accomplish, and not just, making a doable plan, and not just meeting yourself where you're at, but going all in and doing it in a perfectionistic way. I want you to not spend the rest of your life not liking who you are right now and doing nothing about it, but not liking the situation and not doing anything because you aren't excited or because you're waiting for to feel more motivated. I want you to do things and not waiting for yourself to be so upset with yourself at hitting rock bottom. This is just not the way to live. So for all of you that have been kicking the can down the road, looking for a perfect day, week, or month, or you are waiting for yourself to hit rock bottom, if you're thinking to yourself, should I just do it? Yeah, you probably just should. You should do it now. You should get started on change today. You should make your next choice a vote for the person who you want to become. That's what I try to implement all the time. I don't try to put things off anymore. I do small things. I take small steps. I meet myself where I am at. And that's in all areas of my life, right? It's not just about where I am. Obviously, I've changed my relationship with alcohol now. And I say this all the time. The things I talk about, they're meta skills, right? It is a meta skill to be able to apply information like this to you and to the rest of your life. And anyway, that's what trap number one is. With these perfect conditions in mind, they don't come. They are never going to happen. And even if they did, that is not the way to have a great life.
Just a quick break to talk with you more about Sunnyside. Did you know that Sunnyside uses science to help you reach your goals by focusing on 3 scientifically proven superpowers that you have? Number 1, the power of pre-commitment. Each week, you set an intention for the week ahead that includes a tracking goal, a drink goal, and possibly a dry day goal. Number 2, the power of conscious interference. You'll learn the habit of tracking each day as soon as you finish it, which creates a mindful pause before you start the next day. And number 3, positivity. We know that this is a big step that can be tough at times, right? And that's why Sunnyside offers coaching through SMS and email to give you support, advice, and motivation. You can check out a free 15-day trial at www.sunnyside.co/Molly. That's www.sunnyside.co/Molly.
Number 2 is for all of you that are avoiding taking action because you are afraid of making a mistake, because you overdrink and you drink off plan and you feel too broken to continue. That's another trap. That's another reason we stop taking action. Here's what I want you to understand. All right? You are never going to be perfect at this. I'm not perfect at this. And if you believe that you have to be perfect, which is what sometimes for many of you who come into this work, you come from the mindset of the recovery industry, which is very prevalent. And even if you don't believe that you want to be alcohol free for the rest of your life, there's a lot of narratives running in the background of your thinking that have been there, that were embedded by the recovery industry, that you've been exposed to for the rest of for all of your life, that tell you that the only way to be quote unquote perfect, right, is to be completely abstinent, to be completely sober, to be alcohol free. And so, especially when you don't stick to a plan, you feel like a failure. And then what do? Sometimes what people do when they drink off plan is they say, screw it, I blew it, and they drink some more. How many of you have done that? Right? I know I have. And that, I got to tell you, is a really bad coping mechanism for overdrinking. So I'm going to say something right now. All right. You are going to, if you're in this process, you're going to be, and you're still drinking, you're going to drink, and you're going to probably drink off plan. You're going to get tempted to drink. And that is probably something that is going to keep happening potentially for the rest of your life. P.S. Whether you're working on it or not, right? People ask me all the time, do you get tempted? Do you drink off plan? The answers are yes and yes, I do. I get tempted. Sometimes I drink off plan. Does it look very different than what it used to? Yes. Do I drink after I've drank off plan? Do I drink because of it? No, I do not. I do not make the story about me drinking off plan something that drives me to want to escape it all and to desire to get, to keep on going, to just implode. And that is a skill set that I have built over time. I know now, and the ways that I work around things that I know are going to be challenging in terms of drinking or eating or anything else is that, I make plans and I'm consistent with making plans. And even when the plans go awry or the plans go off, they don't go off in the same ways that they used to. Even when I off plan drink now, we're talking about having, a third drink on a night when I plan to have 2 drinks. And that's very different from a daily drinking habit of 3 to 4 drinks, which is what I used to have, right? And the thing of it is that I don't let myself make my mistakes mean that I can't do it. I accept that mistakes are a part of the process. I use them to evaluate what has happened. I reflect on them with compassion and curiosity, and I keep going. I don't let them lead me astray and go back to, well, I'll just start again tomorrow. I'll just start again next week. No, when I do something off plan and I can catch myself in the moment or close to it and decide, well, you have an option here. You have a choice. And every choice is a chance to vote for who you are or who you are becoming. I know who I am. I enjoy my alcohol minimalist life. And even when I'm tempted to not follow my plans, I can have that conversation with myself and I can stop myself before I make the next choice that's off plan. It's not about beating yourself up. It's not about feeling bad. And because that's never going to solve the problem either, right? That is not going to encourage us to take new action. You cannot solve the action of over drinking by drinking over it. And I want you to hear what I just said. You cannot solve the action of over drinking by trying to drink over it. You have to take a new action. And the only way you're going to do that is you're going to have to pause and you're going to have to get curious and compassionate with yourself, even when you feel really bad. And it's okay to feel bad, right? That does not mean that drinking is going to solve that either. So that's number two. Number two is you stop taking action because you've made a mistake. You stop taking small steps forward and instead you try to go backwards, right? And you cannot beat yourself up because that's not going to allow you to take better action the next time either. You have to be able to think to yourself, okay, I am not going to overdrink because I'm not going to drink over because I overdrink. I'm not going to allow myself to get into a pity party here. And that's not the way you're going to change your relationship with alcohol. It is simply not the way you're going to do it. And that's what I want you to remember. It is a part of the process. Struggling can be a part of this process, and it's okay. We learn through mistakes more than we learn from doing everything perfectly. And don't let trap number 2, that you made a mistake, keep you from taking action. Okay. Trap number 3 is that instead of focusing on what's ahead of you for, maybe just for the day, you are looking too far into the future. And that's really what trap number 3 is all about. So we've got number 1 is you're waiting for it to be perfect, or you're waiting for yourself to hit rock bottom, one or the other. Number 2 is you make a mistake and that takes you out of action. And number 3 is that you get yourself thinking too far into the future. I talk to my clients about making a doable drink plan. And a lot of you, when you start thinking about changing your relationship with alcohol, you go too far out. You start envisioning like 1,000 things that you're going to have to do to try to change your relationship with alcohol. There's literally very few. All right. In my work, I talk about making the doable drink plan, about having the off plan. I talk about taking care of your brain in terms of learning some of the neuroscience and mastering the behavior map result cycle. I really think that all of you should be making a doable drink plan that is 24 hours ahead of time. And I had this conversation with a coaching client this week too, because I know some of the drinking apps, in fact, Sunnyside, one of the apps that, the mindful drinking app that I recommend, has you set up a plan for a week ahead of time. Here's the thing. Sometimes a week ahead of time is just too far out into the future for where you are in your lives right now. It isn't too hard for me, but I've been doing this for many years. It may be too far out into the future for you. We're not talking about the rest of your life. We're not talking about trying to project so far out into the future about what this is going to be like years down the road. We're also not going to just plan in the minute, right? In the moment. 24 hours ahead is a good safe spot to get started. And there's enough time and enough, planning to be able to accommodate your schedule. And it can also help you do, with all the things that you have to do. But if you start thinking this way about making a plan 24 hours ahead of time, it is moving the decision out of your lower brain, which is where the decision for alcohol has always resided, into your logical prefrontal cortex. And I think that this is just a really great way of avoiding not taking action. What happens when we make a plan a week ahead of time and we get to the day and we either have forgotten about the plan and we're not paying attention to it. That happens to people. Or we are also things change. And then we feel like, I know this happens with people. They're like, oh, well, didn't go back in and edit the plan. Well, okay. We want to make a plan 24 hours and we want to check in with ourselves each time. Okay. This is what we want to do. We want to be looking at taking action for the day. So those are 3 things that happen to people when they are working on making sustainable change happen in their lives and they find themselves not taking action. It's because typically they're waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect time to feel more motivated. And I got to tell you, that's just simply not going to happen. So quit waiting and decide to take some action today. And the second one is if you have made mistakes, if you've made a mistake and that is now keeping you stuck from taking further action, or it's derailed you and you are now taking off-plan action, then I want you to tell yourself, this is normal. This is a part of the process. It is totally okay that I made a mistake and I'm not going to use it as an excuse to not take a better action right now. I am not going to use it as evidence that I can't make this change happen. I'm going to just get right back on and I'm going to make and plan and take an action for the rest of the day today that aligns with my long-term goals and is a choice that is a vote for who I am becoming. The last one is that you're looking too far into the future and not making a doable plan for the next 24 hours. We do not have to know how this is all going to work. We do not have to have it figured out for the rest of our lives. We don't even have to figure it out for the week. I want you to meet yourself where you're at. I want you making a 24-hour doable drink plan. That is what I have for you this week, my friends. I got to tell you, this episode is a little bit different. I tried something different. I don't know if I'm going to love it. I'm evaluating whether or not this worked. See if you notice what you think the difference was. If you think you can tell if there was a difference this week, let me know send me a note, send me an email, and tell me if you could tell how I got through this episode, if it was if it was different for you. Until next time, my friends, have a great end of April. Have a great end of Alcohol Awareness Month. I will see you in May, and take care. Choose peace.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. Take something you learned from this week's episode and put it into action. Changing your drinking habits and creating a peaceful relationship with alcohol is 100% possible. You can stop worrying, stop feeling guilty about overdrinking, and become someone who desires alcohol less. I work with people in 3 ways. You can learn about them over at www.mollywatts.com/workwithme. Or better yet, reach out to me directly. It's molly@mollywatts.com. We'll jump on a call and discuss what's best for you. This podcast is really just the beginning of our conversation. Let's keep it going.